All right, so we just had a youth activity and we were really excited to play a lot of new games with the teenagers. And I try to play games that they've never played before, whether it's a twist on a previous game or a game they've never played before altogether. We have a lot of fun with that. And so our Fall Fest was just this past week, and the kids enjoyed a lot of games, and they had some favorites, and I'm going to share them with you. First, we have what we called Coney Island. You just take a bunch of cones, traffic cones, or you can take some PE cones, and you put them in the middle of your gym or in the middle of your field, wherever you're playing the game. And the teenagers or contestants, they run to the center, they lift up the cone on their foot, and then they hop back towards their team in order to win the point. The team that has the most cones at their side of the field by the end of the game wins. Now, the way I did it to make it faster and speed it up a little bit, I let 2 players run from each team at the same time. That way, the game went a lot faster. I did tell them this: if you drop the cone, you have to leave the cone where it is, and then another contestant has to run from the line, pick it up, and resume the game. At the end of the game, it's just whoever has the most wins, and it's simple enough. Next up, we called this one Upsy Daisy. Again, placing a lot of cones in the middle of your field or your court. The contestants would run to the center of the court, they would pick the cone up, and they would kick it in the air and catch it. Now, I did tell them this: the cone had to actually leave their foot, go in the air, and them catch it. Then they would run that cone to their side, and again, I ran 2 contestants at the same time from each team. That way the game went by a lot faster. I've learned a long time ago that if the game goes slowly, then they lose interest, they don't like the game as much, they want it to go fast. And so whatever you can do to make the game go faster, it helps it a lot. This game was actually their favorite game, and I don't know why. It's one of the easiest games. There's no setup, there's no prep. Just get yourself a ladder or something tall to stand on so that you can see everybody in the court. So the way the game is played, I called it backwards thinking. And the way the game is played, you line everybody up in the middle of your field or in the middle of your court, and then you stand up taller than them and you're directing traffic. You tell them to go left or to go right, and they have to do the opposite of what you say. So if you say go right, they need to all run left, and whoever lags behind is eliminated from the game. What I also did is I set up 2 different colored cones, a green cone and an orange cone, traffic cones or PE cones, and I set one colored on each side, and that way if I said orange cone, they had to run to the green cones. If I said green cone, they had to run to the orange cones, that side of the field. They had to run to the opposite side of the color that I called. And they really loved it. They really enjoyed it. Just watch them as I call out the different things and they go the opposite direction or go the same direction. And even sometimes a kid will just stand there and just look at me and automatically walk out. So it was a lot of fun. One of the things I did to give it a twist is I would call out left side or right side or go left or go right. And I would actually point the direction they were supposed to go, or I would point the direction they were not supposed to go, and that added a lot of confusion as well. So it's a fun game, fast game. Again, no prep time at all. Just set it up and away you go. Kickball Madness. Now there's a lot to this game, especially if they're used to kickball or they're used to baseball. It's a mixture of a lot of rules altogether. And basically what I told them, there's 2 bases. There's home base and then there's first base, or you can call them zones. There's the home zone and the other zone, and both of those are safe zones. So you have a kicker, they get up to kick, so you set up 2 cones. So you set up 1 cone in the home zone and 1 cone where the pitcher stands, and the pitcher pitches the ball and the person kicks. Now the way I spread it out, I didn't want everybody standing in the same spot and crowding where the kicker is, and so I actually put 2 extra cones there and told the teenagers to stand outside the orange cones. That way we knew who was kicking. The neat thing about this, the twist, is when the kicker kicks, anybody or everybody on the team can run. And they can run to that first base or that first safe zone. And as they're running, if the ball is caught, it's an automatic out of not only the kicker, but everybody else who ran with them. And so that's an easy way to get 3 outs. But if they don't catch the ball, and they just peg a person out. It's just one out per person that they peg. So as they're pegging the people, if they peg the person that kicked the ball, it's the same as if they caught the ball, and everybody that is running on the court is eliminated and they are out. And so it's a very fast-paced game. It switches up very quickly as you switch sides, and the teams start getting used to it and figuring out the best way for them. The neat thing about this is you can score multiple times in one setting. So let's say the ball is kicked, the person is running, they can actually run back to home base, score, then run back to the first safe zone and run back to home base and score again. Because the only way the play is stopped is when that ball touches the pitcher's cone. So once the ball touches the pitcher's cone, they hold the ball up in the air and all the play stops. So whatever zone they're the closest to is the zone they go to. The half-court line is there, and you've got a bunch of people that are halfway on their way to home. All of them would count as a point. If they're halfway on their way towards the first safe zone, all of them get to go to that safe zone. But that's the only way to end the play, is to take the ball and tap the pitcher's cone. Play as many innings as you want. Whoever has the most scores wins. For this one, I called it Catcher's Paradise. And basically, you have two catcher's spots. And with us, it's very easy because both of the keys inside of our basketball court are colored. So that became our Catcher's Paradise. You start out with one catcher in one zone and one catcher in the other zone, and everybody in front of them is from the opposite team. So basically, the catcher is going to the opposite team's court. And then what your objective is to take the ball, throw it to your catcher, and them catch it. If the catcher catches the ball, that team member gets to go and join them and become an additional catcher. Now you need to set up perimeters and boundaries. That way the players don't go inside the catcher's zone and the catchers don't come outside of the catcher's zone. And that way they don't come outside of the catcher's zone either. So the first team to get their entire team into the catcher's zone wins, and they win Catcher's Paradise. I did add some twists along the way because I told the catchers they could not throw the balls back to their team or anything like that. They just had to let them drop to the ground. But I did tell them towards the middle of the game, I did give them an advantage and say, hey, look, if you are a catcher and you could throw the ball and hit the backboard, I'll give you an extra score. If you throw the ball and it makes it in the basketball goal, I'll give you bonus scores for that as well. So there's just different twists that you can add along the way, and it's a fun game too. This game is a lot easier explained by watching than me trying to tell you. It's called Hot Potato. You set up your players in a row and let them toss the balls back and forth over each other, and you want them to form a line and get all the way to the end of the court first, and they just sit there and toss the ball back and forth, and then over the head of that person and back and forth, and over the head of the next person and back and forth, and over the head of the next person until they get to the end of the court, and then the game is over. And whoever scores first, I gave them a certain amount of points, second got a certain amount of points, and third place got something, and fourth place, well, they got nothing. So these are some of the favorites from the teenagers that they enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy them as well. If you dig this sort of content, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, leave me a comment of any other activities you may like, and I'll try and play them with our teenagers as well. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.